Good. Yeah. Last week at G Prep. So
Okay.
Well, for the kids in Tom,
Welcome,
it's like a
everyone.
long
It is,
slog to
uh,
finish, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna get started.
I went.
Sorry. Welcome, everyone. It is Monday, Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. Let the record reflect that we have, it is our 9 a.m. board briefing session. Let the record reflect that we have 3 commissioners with us. So we do have a quorum. So we have Commissioner Kearns, Commissioner Walt, and myself. And we've got a busy morning and we've got a hard stop at 11. So we're going to get going and start with Judge Hazel.
All right, thank you, by the way, for having us today. We're here today to present the resolution and operations plan for the Joint Port Security Committee. Just historical context, there's been a Port Security Committee existing for some time under a pretty loose and undefined structure. And over the years, the court's been participating in that. And I've only been participating for approximately 5-6 months. And it came to everyone's attention that the old structure, people weren't really following it. And there wasn't very much guidance or structure in the old court security plan. So we were tasked by the presiding judge to form a subcommittee and propose a potential change just in the structure. And essentially, we've come up with this proposed resolution and Joint Port Security Committee plan. And this has been Harriseth and Gavin Pratt, who are also members of the subcommittee. So this is what we came up with. We believe that this will give us better focus and direction. And ultimately, we recognize, and this was drafted in a place where we recognize we're only a recommending committee. So essentially, this group would simply be making recommendations as we've done historically. But we've given ourselves some structure. We believe that this would improve the overall process. Under the old structure, there wasn't clear whether we needed a quorum for people that were attending, but sporadically. And we believe that this structure will benefit the county and port security overall, and also be beneficial to commissioners. We try to be very thoughtful in who we included and narrow the focus so that this is focused primarily on court operations and those buildings that are on campus and have a essential court function, and then leaving it to risk management for those that really don't have a court function. We think that would be a better use of everyone's resources. But I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look at the operations plan and the resolution, and then I know my colleagues might have some comments too. Thanks for the opportunity to consider this.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just going to clarify before you guys start that this is basically the Campus Security Committee and restructuring that to be more for the courts, which is it statutorily required to have a committee?
It's required by general court rules. Okay. So what's called GR 36. And so that hopefully will be able to fulfill our requirement as well. And so we've included anyone that mandated that's mandated in GR 36. We've included in this to be all encompassing. So pretty much all the stakeholders are at the table, or at least invited.
Okay. I would like Sergeant Pratt. You look like you're going to say something, so I apologize.
You're good. The subcommittee was comprised of law enforcement, the courts, and then the campus security personnel to have the insight from all 3. We're trying to limit the scope of the campus security committee, the court security committee, to just what's required by GR 36. And it doesn't mean that any of those security issues can't be shared with the other campus areas through risk management and campus security there as well. And input obviously can come from anywhere for the committee to consider.
No, I think.
Questions?
Only thing I'd add, Steve Bartell was also on the subcommittee and was part of this as well. So he's instrumental and in favor of it.
Okay. Any comments, Scott?
I've looked over the ops plan and chatted with Ashley and Steve. I think what Judge Hazel mentioned, it's really focusing refocusing what's called the Campus Security Committee and really having it just for the courts, which is required. I think Ben already handles a lot of the campus security issues or needs. Holistically, he manages the overall budget for security. So I do think it's a good idea to kind of refocus the group. I've been in some of the meetings, and it has been, as Judge Hazel says, is it courts, is it broad? And it's not been really clear. So I think giving some clarity to the court specific portion of it would be pretty helpful for the group.
And then I see on the list of committee members, it's just a member of the Board of County Commissioners, not the chair of the Board of County Commissioners any longer. That's what you're requesting.
Yeah, although I mean, of course, we'd be flexible, however, but yeah, I think that was
I
the
think
intent, but
that's-
however. If there was a different preference, I think we'd be open to
Yes.
that.
Yes, and they're an ex officio, which makes sense to me because the county commissioner is then voting on it as any recommendations come before us. So it would make sense to be ex officio, so good. That's good. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys all being here and presenting that. And
Thank you.
yeah, well,
Have a good rest of your meeting.
thank you.
Thank
too.
you.
And then for the record, Commissioner French has joined us, so just to put that out there. Okay, so then we don't have.
I think I saw Sean in the other.
That was the next 4 items,
Yeah,
so we need to
Yeah,
get.
so it's gotta get here. Commissioner French.
So, I don't know whether you found out or not, but, the event that we got, during the noon hour, actually, we're supposed to be over there by 10:30. So I'll be leaving a little bit early.
I think
to get there.
At 10:50.
You got 10:50?
It's
Okay,
I think.
all right, then I'll hang around as long as I can.
That's just.
All right, so,
I knew we had 11 hard stop, but if you
Yeah.
need to leave early, that's okay.
I'm older, it'll take longer to get over there.
I think one thing that I had highlighted this with Steve in that operations plan, it references the district court valley location as under Spokane County occupied property. So we just want to make sure that we've got good clarity with the valley as to what this committee could do with relation to that particular facility.
Sean, I think we're waiting for Kevin to see if he's not arrived yet. Okay, so. See if he's, is there anything miscellaneous that we have a couple of minutes? It's because Kevin's on our next four items, so it's nothing against you.
No.
But yeah. Any miscellaneous items?
So if we wanted to send a letter to the city complaining about all the traffic redirection and everything, we'd be in my house and here, I'd be all in favor of that because I started 20 minutes early and still got here late. So
You're gnarled up in a lot of that.
Yeah.
it's a nightmare. Not only that, but they had 6 state troopers monitoring that whole mess to evidently balance their budget. I'm not sure. But there's 6 of them.
Obviously, you couldn't go
And I
too fast.
dodged every one.
I have no problem.
Yeah.
Cause all the WSP were on the other side.
Where's my adjustment tool that bad?
Well, I can give a quick report from my trip to DC last week. The 3 offices, McMaster, Rogers, Cantwell, and Murray, were really interested in that, the Price Commerce Grant that George Dahl's office is working on, which would bring in dollars for, removing some of the manufactured homes and building more, affordable housing. And so I think all the offices are gonna write a letter of support for that commerce grant, which Spokane County is just a portion of. But so that's exciting. I did, Senator Cantwell just dropped a FEMA wildfire related bill. And so I think John is gonna have Chandra take a look at it and see if it's relevant to things that we've been talking about policy wise to improve response for wildfire victims. So TBD, but that's interesting news.
Yeah.
There was another bill that we reviewed, but it didn't have a lot of it. Chandra didn't think was as maybe it's helpful or relevant. So there's lots of different angles people are approaching it from. So yeah, so I was on a call yesterday and Paul from our housing office was saying that we're getting a lot of great letters of support for that price grant. So,
How much do we?
well, I think that Spokane County asked for 20 million. The cap for Washington State is 85. So we may not get that. They're gonna have, I think the woman from Commerce said that it was, I think 123 million in ask from across the state. So she's gonna have to negotiate what gets in the final proposal by July 10th. But I think this week, George and Pot will have to have that all wrapped up so that then the state can put all the final touches over the next month on the proposal. And some of the letters of support might just have to go directly to HUD because they don't have enough pages left in there in the allotment for the grant. So, and I think Commissioner French has been working with John Colton on maybe some other funding for purchasing some of the land out there. So
Yeah, in fact, we got a meeting later on this week about that.
Okay.
And that grant request together.
because you can't purchase land and then not build on it. Not allowed in this grant, not allowed in the price grant. They want to see if you're gonna purchase land with the funds that you're building affordable housing.
Is he on his way? Okay, thank you. There's no executive sessions today.
I've got a couple quick things. Let's see if I can put any of them. I've got one we can do as a miscellaneous. I was contacted by a law firm last couple of weeks. There is some potential class action litigation regarding to effects and impacts of social media. So in large part, the plaintiffs have been school districts. However, they have found that municipalities and counties have spent a considerable amount of money on increased programming and increased responses to more or less the ill effects of social media. That would include things like law enforcement increasing, cyber harassment units and things like that, as well as potentially juvenile detention having to, implement some other programs. So I've only just started reaching out to departments to see if any of these things, if they are able to identify any of these impacts. But one of the lead firms down in California has offered to come up and give a presentation to the board on this litigation and how it would work for the county to join. So if the board is interested, I can follow up with scheduling that with them. This is one of the same firms that was involved in the Juul vape litigation. Let's see, they indicated currently there are two litigations. There's a federal litigation that is a multi-district litigation in the Northern District of California. There's also a California state case, which we can actually join because all of the defendants, all of the social media companies are California companies, so they can all be sued in state court. They anticipate that this litigation would last anywhere from the next 1.5 to 2 years before a settlement is reached. They're identifying some cases right now that will likely go to trial. They said if Spokane County joins, it's highly unlikely that Spokane's case would go to trial. So given that information, not sure if that's something the commissioners want to hear more about, but if you do, they are more than willing to come up and present on it and just provide more information and answer questions.
Um,
I could schedule them for a strategic planning meeting. The next, 2 to 4 weeks kind of thing.
yeah, well, they could just soon
Yeah,
come up for it, but I mean. It's interesting all the effects that are happening. So it'd be interesting to talk to the sheriff's office to see kind of the effects of social media. There's some class action lawsuit going on. To have for cybersecurity.
Oh,
Cyberbullying.
not familiar.
So, yeah, so I think we'd want to talk to the sheriff's office to see what their thoughts are.
Yeah.
You know,
certainly.
What about Justin as well in terms of like the youth mental health dollars that we've been
Yes.
putting out
Yeah.
through the mental health sales tax, right?
Yeah, that certainly could implicate that, and that may be something we could recover on as well.
I think it's
I'd
worth
be interested.
investigating.
Sure.
Hearing more.
All right, we will all follow up with them and get some of that set up and reach out to some of the potentially affected departments and see if we can identify any areas for the county that may have been impacted.
Thank you. Okay, Jonathan, we have lots.
Yeah, it should be pretty quick though. So do you want me to start with the MDCs first?
Yeah,
Um,
Sean here, yes, for the data, yes.
So this is for the purchase of 40 MDCs for our replacement program for our patrol MDCs and then a couple other. Oh, it's a mobile data, I'm sorry. Mobile data computer, yeah. It's the computer that's in the vehicles that attaches to the mounts in the vehicles that patrol officers use for dispatching and things like that. We have a replacement kind of program that I think we purchase 40 a year generally. And then next year we're gonna need to up that to 50, and the reason is we're running up against I think it's October 2025 timeline for the mandatory Windows 11 upgrade.
Right.
And the old computers are not compatible with that, so we need to get new ones for everybody by then. So I think they're gonna purchase 10 more than they usually do next year. But that's all this is our replacement program for 40 this year. It'll get us online to be in compliance with the mandatory upgrade next year.
That's it in a nutshell.
The budget for this.
Yes,
Already.
it is budgeted, yes.
Okay,
And then the next one, I guess I'll just
yeah, the next.
Langley, oh yes, COPS, Langley Productions, the COPS program that you guys are sure all familiar with.
Thank you, Sean, for being here.
They want to come back and film with us again. They want to start, I think the contract is for July 16th through August 10th. They're gonna start in the valley and then I think in mid-August, they'll start downtown as well. Downtown precincts. So this isn't a cost, it's they do some promotion for us on their website, kind of like recruiting stuff and they come and ride around and see if they can get footage for their program. So, which I think is all just online now. I don't think it's on the TV network.
It's just not
Yeah.
And so are they, in that timeframe, they're doing sheriff's department and city?
Yeah, they'll start with this. I don't know about the city police. I don't know if they're gonna be with the city of Spokane. They're gonna be with the city of the valley. Yeah, and then I say city. When I say city, yeah. They'll be at the Valley precinct, I should say, from July 16th to August 10th, and then they'll be at the downtown precinct from August 13th. Or sorry, August 13th through September 10th.
When you say downtown precinct,
The unincorporated.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I know last time they were here, we talked to risk management.
Yes, and I looked at the emails, risk management has looked at the contract and I believe legal has looked at the contract and okayed it. And like I said, no cost to us.
And in the past, I think Ozzy talked about his recruiting tool. Do you feel like that's still an opportunity?
It is, and it's funny because we still get laterals to this day coming in and saying they saw our agency on COPS, the ones that, because there were some pretty good episodes on COPS when they used to air. And
and they mentioned the cops, especially people not from this area, from California, the east side of the country.
Okay.
Anything helps for recruiting.
Yes.
So you really do hear that folks,
Oh, yeah.
so how many times has the county sheriff's office been on the cops program? I'm not familiar.
It was pre-COVID.
It was pre-COVID and they went through an issue or something where they were taken off TV, but they were, they've been on air since the early eighties, I want to say, mid-80s, for a long time, and then they stopped airing on network TV, I think in 2020. But prior to that, I mean, in the 21 years I've been here, they've been here filming 3 or 4 times. So I've actually had cops crew ride with me when I was on patrol. It's a fun experience. So I don't know how many episodes we've been on, but I know they've been here filming 3 or 4 times, and I know we have a handful of pretty funny episodes.
Well,
Entertaining.
Entertaining.
It's a comedy show?
Yeah. They're funny in a good way. It's a good.
so you don't feel like it could reflect like negatively on the community?
Me personally, or the sheriff's office, the sheriff's office doesn't believe it does. I know there were some issues with the city of Spokane, but we got nothing but good experiences with the cops film crews and the programs, and they show us all of the footage, prior to airing it, and we've never had anything but good experience with it.
Yeah, I guess my concern is just trying to, promote the good things that the sheriff's office is doing. I just worry about the negative light on like community members, kind of in sometimes their worst moments. And is that really, is it really a priority for us to show that to the world? I don't know. I just kind of have some concerns about it.
Right, and it's understandable. Just one thing to be aware of is when they'll come out and shoot hundreds of hours of film, and every person who's on that film has to consent and they go around and they talk to anyone who's been contacted or arrested or in the background during a contact, and they get consent from every single one of them. And if one person objects to being on the show, they scrap the footage. They don't use it. So that's why no one ever saw me on Cops, is because all the film or all the footage they shot of me when I was doing it, it all got cut because one person that they filmed didn't want to be on TV, and so they wouldn't give consent. And I believe they can either consent to either be on TV or be redacted or be blurred out, or just not be on at all. And they will not show, if anyone has any concerns or feels like they've been, unfairly filmed or portrayed on an episode, they won't show them.
The other side of that is that with the crime rate being what it is across the country, knowing that there's a community that actually still arrests criminals is probably not a bad thing.
Well, they're arrested. They're not convicted yet.
Well, no.
I say go for it. I think it's great. We've done it, like you said, for over 20 years. We haven't seen an issue with doing it. Go for it.
That'd be the same.
Well, I think Mr. Anderson, when's the contract? Is it on the agenda?
I don't know if it's on the agenda yet. I looked at it outside of civic clerk, but
But it'd probably be on the agenda for next week.
Next week.
it's ready to go. Legal standard.
Yeah, it's, that's. Sorry. Next Tuesday, yeah. Obviously a policy discussion for the board, so that's.
I know we've done in the past, Ozzy spoke highly of it, he felt like it helped recruiting. And didn't portray the negative life community. And I think if everyone has to, give consent, then it's fine.
Make us proud.
Luckily, they won't be calling me again. I like rushed into a burning house, and everything was fun. It's good fun.
Okay, and then the next one is the Sigma.
Sigma, yes, this is the heart, what do they call it, the Heart Safe program. Sigma was here 2.5, almost 3 years ago. They did screenings for about 180 employees of the sheriff's office. It's cardiovascular and it's all the packets in there. They're basically checking the entire cardiovascular and metabolic system for efficiencies and how you burn calories, and if you have any issues with or potential for a heart attack in the future or any heart related issues. We're bringing them back. They do this is going to be a 3-year contract with them this time. They do an initial screening, and then the year later they do a follow-up. So what we did, we have 120,000 budgeted this year. So what we did is the follow-up is much cheaper than, or much less expensive than the initial screening. So we're offering the follow-up to all 180 employees who had the initial screening 2.5, 3 years ago. Some of them aren't even here anymore, so we may not be using, all 180 spots. And then we're offering the new screening to 60 new employees. And then next year, it'll be follow-up for 60 employees, and then the new screening for 60 new employees. And then for the 3rd year, it'll be, we're gonna wait and see what the numbers are. But the way we structured it, it actually comes under budget this year, about $113,000. And so I think we budgeted 120. So we'll get 6 new people screened, and then the follow-up on 180 employees that had it a couple years ago. So like I said, it's
Just to piggyback on what Kevin's talking about, it's actually a really good program for our employees, but also for being a self-funded insurance plan for benefits. So the other really cool thing, and I sat in on the presentations when they came last time. So not only are they doing the testing, they're also then identifying if people have comorbidities. What are they? Is it high cholesterol? Is it potential heart disease? Is it pre-diabetes, right? And then they're individually working with our officers to say, here's what we're finding, here's our recommendations for exercise, diet. So they're actually giving them a plan also. So, or it could also be medication. You really need to be on this cholesterol medication, right? You are literally a walking time bomb. So over time, when we use these programs, what the data was that we saw is that statistically people should get healthier. Therefore, our medical costs over time will start to decrease. So essentially it's a wellness plan. I highly support this. I think it's incredibly important for us to be looking at this for our law enforcement group that technically, usually you do see the higher risks. I think it'd be something to look at detention in the future as well, but I fully stand behind the sheriff's ask on this and think it's a very smart thing for the county to continue doing with our sheriff's office.
Yeah, like actually, it's very comprehensive. I mean, my experience with it, they sit down and they do a metabolic test. And they tell you, when you peak, when you burn calories, and what type of calories you should have and when you should have them. And, unfortunately for me, it said no carbs and no, which is basically all I eat. So it was interesting. But, and then they provide you a report with all the data, and I was able to electronically submit that to my regular doctor, and he could review it and make recommendations from there, based on their recommendations. So it was a really good experience. I don't follow the diet issues, but whatever. It was good. So like I said, I wanted to come in either at the budget or under budget this year, and then next year we only need to budget for about 71,000 next year. For the follow-ups.
And when do they come?
Well, as soon as this is approved, or if it is approved, I'll sign we'll get the contract going, and it should be, they want to be August, September timeframe before hunting season, so they get the most people.
Priorities.
Yeah. Well, it's when you schedule things like this, because it takes about a week for them to get everyone through it, and half the people are on vacation, it's hard to, so yeah, we want to get them in.
No, very good.
And then our sign-on bonus policy. So the proposal is to renew it for another year with the same language as last year. This is a challenging one because I think I've had conversations with individuals on the commission here in the past, and I don't know how to quantify this. I don't know if we're gonna, if we're recruiting or getting the people because of the bonus, or if we would not have gotten them if we didn't have the bonus. Everybody's offering bonuses now, and so it's almost, if we don't, I think it hurts us more than anything. But I can't really gauge the effectiveness of it because, like I said, everybody's doing it now, and so it's not, I just read the city of Renton is upping their bonus to $40,000 a year, or $40,000, I'm sorry. You know, I think that's not, I don't think that's reasonable, but I think maintaining the current status is, while we're going into this year, I don't see any way around not doing it. And the way we have it structured now, I think it's been a lot more effective. We haven't been showing as many losses, and then the sheriff and I have been having some conversations with other ways to structure this as well. Instead of offering money, maybe offers, some sort of leave balance or something like that. We're just getting to those talks. The request is to extend it one more year, and we can keep chatting about other ways to go.
Any questions? We talked about a while, recently, but, I think, having a sunset on it again, having them come back, really looking at it, I think we're in a better situation than Renton. Or is it?
I think it's right, it's 40,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Versus here, I mean, it's a different, cost of living factor and stuff too, so I mean, I think we're still. And with where we're at, it's within your budget.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
just making sure when we talk numbers that it's already within your budget,
Yep.
that you guys are planning on it.
We are planning on it. And we want to hire 30 to 60 people this year, so we'll do our best.
Okay.
I'm good.
Any other questions?
Right.
Look at you.
That's it.
Okay, that's gonna take us to Dawn,
Thank you.
Chief Hoover over there. Talking about the same issue.
Same issue,
So,
we planned this.
Oh, bonuses? Yeah.
Well, good morning, commissioners. So we are here for the same thing, just as a renewal for our sign bonus. Same thing like Kevin said, is that it is hard to quantify, is that if we didn't have it, would we be hiring as many people? We do hear about it at recruiting events quite often. And not just, Kevin was talking just for for patrol deputies, but we use it for corrections officers, our STAs, as well as cooks. And we have got our STAs, we're fully staffed with STAs, which is, we've had upwards of 5 or 6 vacancies at some point. So, and it's a more entry-level position, starts out in the $18 an hour range. And so a $3,500 sign bonus split in half, $1,750. It's a pretty big impact, and we hear about it there. And we are making progress with corrections officers. So I think last meeting here was we were around 35 vacancies a year, 1 to 2 years ago when we put this in place. And now we're at 25 vacancies as of today. So we are making progress, but I do say we can't let up because we have so many of our staff that are close to retirement age. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't introduce, I think everybody knows Amada Vukitovich. So she's my assistant, as well as all of our assistants, but she does all this, and she's the one that brought the sign bonus to us from the sheriff's office about 3 years ago. So she's the one that.
I think our biggest issue right now is we're seeing the applicants that are applying at all the other law enforcement agencies, and we're on the bottom of that list. So it's very crucial to keep it up at that higher point of paying out those sign-up bonuses. We had just currently, beginning of last month, we had 7 in the process, and out of those 7, we're down to 2 because 4 of them chose to go to another law enforcement agency that paid higher bonuses than we do. And I don't know if it's the hiring bonus, if it's the pay, if it's the job, but we're on the bottom of the list when they're choosing who they're going to work for, when they're applying for multiple places.
And I think law enforcement's typically their first choice. They want to go out to patrol. That's a first choice. And a lot of times they're using us as stepping stone, as we've mentioned numerous times. And so sometimes if we get them in the door, like myself, I was going to go to patrol. Within 2 or 3 years, I found I was a good fit and stay here. And we get that quite often. So the idea is if we can get them in the door, maybe tubes.
So are you seeing people kind of game the system by signing, because they get half the bonus up front, right?
They do, but the county has the policy now, if they move from one position to another, they have to stay in the position for 2 years before they get another sign-on bonus. So they're not leaving us right away.
To go to the sheriff's office.
And we just recently had a big hiring event with sheriff's office, doing it with the high school students, because we are hiring 18-year-olds now. We're the only law enforcement agency here that is hiring 18-year-olds. So we're kind of showing them that path that they can start working at the jail, put their couple years in, 2-3 years in, and they would be ready to advance to law enforcement if that's their main goal.
Yeah, it was a great event. First time we've done it
was.
was at the Sheriff's Training
It was.
Center, and we've currently hired one 18-year-old. There was a lot of fear, oh, we're gonna hire 18-year-olds that aren't ready, but we've been pretty selective. We hired one 18-year-old. He's doing really well in training now, so.
How much is your sign-on bonus?
It is up to 15,000 for laterals, split between two and up to 10,000 for entry-level corrections officers, so.
And 3,500 for DSDAs and cooks.
We're very happy with it. Anything else?
It was already budgeted to continue.
We are.
Absolutely.
We have,
Yeah, we've talked to our finance manager, it's definitely budgeted in there. Even the portion that was budgeted for last year, we didn't even use half of it.
Okay.
So we're always under.
budgeted up to 237. We used about half of so far this year, 120. So we should be hopefully right there. And with our overtime budget, the amount of overtime we spend every year, it is a cost saving measure in the long run. We can hire these spots.
And you feel like the level is where you need to be versus increasing it?
Yeah, we looked at it last year and I compared it to, it was Pierce County and King County are much bigger than us, but it is the other side of the state. And I don't know if it's a deciding factor. To be competitive, we have to have a signing bonus, like Under Sheriff Ritchie said, but I'm hesitant. If I came in front of the board to ask for increase in any of them, it would probably be for our cooks, actually, because cooks for all the meals for both of our facilities, we've struggled with cooks for years and years. So for the corrections officers, I think it's at a pretty fair level.
So we need to look at it for cooks if that's.
Maybe I'll work with Ashley and maybe we'll talk about that a little, because I really hadn't considered it before this. We have talked about it in the past, but and I'll talk to Bryce to make sure we have budget for it. But cooks, we hire about one cook every 2 years has been our pace. It is just, it's been a real struggle to hire cooks. So, but if that's okay, I'll maybe talk to Ashley and talk to Bryce and come back.
That'd be good.
Okay.
That'd be great, because that's the issue.
Sure.
And I know it's hard. So, yeah. It's not something people have, grew up dreaming about becoming a cook in the.
No, they don't. I think once they get here, I really don't want to take up too much time, but I think once they get here, and same thing for medical staff and same thing for admin staff, I don't think they dream about it, but once they get here, I think they realize there's a lot of benefits for them, the stability, et cetera, so. Yeah. So, totally unrelated note, we had I briefed Director Sparber this morning that we had an inmate break out a window in the building and was fishing line down to the ground. We appeared trying to get drugs up all the way to the 6th floor, our max security inmates. Got the whole frame out. I think it's highlighting some of the age of the jail and broke this. So right now we have our corrections response team searching that floor for if anything else got up to the floor, but also we're checking every window of the building as we speak right now. So totally unrelated, but just to what's going on with detention right now. So.
Yeah,
Well, luckily it was, I mean, not luckily, but the latter is drugs. Hope it's not a gun.
Yeah.
It comes up to the window, so very serious.
is it in the middle of the night?
Yeah, it actually happened at 9:22 last night. Yeah, 9:22 at night. So
It's got dark.
right after dark, and we've got the phone calls talking. He was talking on his tablet between him and the offender, and they ran the offender off. He ran and patrol was called, but they didn't catch him. So we think we know who it is. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
I'll let you, the creativity was used in a positive manner. Hey, so Matt, are you briefing on behalf of Deborah?
I am, yeah.
Okay, then you are next on the list.
Yeah, I apologize that she had a conflict. She had a Comcast meeting for a franchise that took forever to get set up.
No worries. And Kyle, I see you, so I'm bored.
We've got, we'll finish off the meeting with a lot of public works items, so hopefully, we'll have some excitement and, we'll get you out of here on time.
Looks like our afternoon is gonna be a lot of public works items.
Yeah, 7 public hearings.
Flipping the Band-Aid up.
Good day.
So I will ask, is there any that we received a lot of comment back on for the public hearing this afternoon?
I had a couple folks call just to inquire what it was. They thought it might affect their property personally, or anyway, they didn't know. So answered a couple questions, but they were fine after we answered the questions.
Very good. Thank you.
So what we have is a license agreement with Fairchild. Next slide. And what they're doing is they're putting in monitoring wells in the right of way. I believe it's 20 locations you can see scattered across the West Plains, presumably groundwater down gradient from the base. And just monitoring the groundwater, trying to keep track of PFAS. And obviously we're fine with that. We've had conversations with them regarding the construction, the location, just so it'd be safe when they installed them and also wouldn't affect the maintenance of the roadway.
So do we know where the, 'cause didn't they already do some monitoring wells?
Yeah, they did. This is that same thing. They didn't get all the way done. So this licenses are an annual renewal. So they have to keep applying. Once they get them installed, we have language in there that allows them to continue monitoring for 20 years. So we won't have to renew it every year. But they didn't want to franchise. So this is just easier for them. And this will get them to the same spot. It's no fee, obviously, being the federal government, we can't charge them for license agreements, but
But this isn't these wells and they have other wells, so it's not in addition to the wells they've already done.
as far as we know, they're just doing the 20 that we're looking at now.
No, I apologize. I finally had a landlord call on the stuff for the Gray and Oregon fires. So I think I'll have that tied up by the end of the day. So, but I missed so we're gonna do some monitoring wells around Fairchild?
Yeah, last year,
What are we
Fairchild
monitoring
had
for?
come PFAS.
Okay,
They'd come to us last year and they wanted to put in 20 monitoring wells. And it just took more time than they expected. They aren't all the way done installing the 20
Okay.
wells. And this is just a renewal to the existing license agreement so they can finish installing the 20 wells.
so are these existing wells that we're gonna monitor or are these new wells that we're gonna install?
These are new wells being installed strictly for monitoring and sampling groundwater, and they're doing it. We're not doing that.
But it's not in addition, it's the same 20 wells that they talked about last year,
Correct.
approved last year.
Got it.
They just
Okay,
haven't installed them
thank you.
all yet, so
Got it.
this is
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
just a continuation of the same 20.
Continuation, more of the same.
That's what I was trying to clarify. too.
Yeah.
So, 'cause I
Okay.
knew that they were here last year talking about it, so.
Well, I think we have a couple of slides showing some examples.
That's what they look like. And I think the depth is variable. They're obviously trying to reach the shallow groundwater aquifers, and how deep they go to get there is, I'm sure, variable depending on the well. But what you get at the surface is essentially what I think the next slide might even show it. There's just basically a lid like that. And our big request for them was not to have those in the roadway, obviously, that, settlement issues and just the needing to be out there monitoring it in the middle of a road isn't the safest thing. So they're putting them off to the side of the road was the agreement.
Having iron and gravel roads is something we try to avoid as much as possible.
Yeah. Our folks let us know when we do that. So
So who's actually going to monitor the wells? Is it gonna be Fairchild or is it gonna be state? Health
Fairchild, I
Department or?
believe, hired a consultant is who
Okay.
we've been talking to, but that could just be the consultant installing them and they may have another plan for the monitoring.
Okay,
I'm not privy to that.
okay. And then the results are gonna go to who?
I think they're keeping them, whether they share them with us, whether
Okay.
we ask to be
Okay.
shared. We have not got that far into the conversation yet.
Okay. But I'd be more interested in having them share it with ecology or state health board
Yeah.
than us, but just curious. Okay.
Just a clarification, this won't be on next week, it'll be 2 weeks out. There's a little bit of a signatory delay with the changing of the base commander.
Any other questions?
Amy.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Good
It's
morning,
always the
everybody.
bearer of good news.
For those that don't know me, my name is Jamie Hayes. I'm the Senior Project Manager for the Public Works Department. I'm here to let you know that Public Works was awarded funding for what we're gonna call the Freya Street Glen Rose ADA Safety Improvement Project. This funding comes from the TIB, which is the Transportation Improvement Board, through their Complete Streets funding stream. The Public Works Department applied for an early call for projects in March of this year and was awarded $476,000, which was the requested amount that we asked for, and then the match is a required 20%. Next slide, please. This is Spokane County's first Complete Streets Award, and it is for jurisdictions like ourselves that have adopted a Complete Streets ordinance. Let's see, it's intended for agencies that like Spokane County that demonstrate planning, construction practices that accommodate all users, bicyclists, pedestrians, motorists of all ages and abilities, and provide access to transit. I like to add in that Complete Streets incorporates context-sensitive solutions to community transportation problems by improving safety, mobility, and access. Next slide. This project consists of 3 smaller projects. And this project is to accommodate the Prairie View at Southside Aquatic Facility on Freya Street. It's a popular neighborhood destination, and they average like almost 700 daily visitors on their peak season. The road lacks pedestrian crossings and ADA curb ramps that make it accessible for everyone to use the park. Next slide. And as this might be a little bit hard to see, you can see that the road doesn't have crossings, so 2 crosswalks were proposed with signage, some stormwater treatment, and ADA curb ramps. You can see that it's going to connect it to existing facilities, sidewalks, and paths, but even more so, it could be kind of looked at as there's a class 1 separated path to the north, which will provide access to Moran Prairie Elementary School, the Moran Prairie Trail, and the separated path on Palouse Highway 2. So much more than a crosswalk, but next slide, please. The next project is the Yale Road crosswalk. This crosswalk is between Glen Rose Road and Yale Road, and it needs to be relocated to increase pedestrian visibility and provide ADA curb ramps that are up to standard. Improvements will provide improved access to Moran Prairie Elementary School in the nearby residential neighborhood. And we can go on to the next slide so you can see the illustration. You can see the existing sidewalk is kind of set back. So to improve visibility, it's moved forward. And then, as I stated, the ADA curb ramps will be improved so that they meet standard now. And then to the southwest, you can see that's the parking lot to Moran Prairie Elementary School. And then the next slide. The last project in this bundle is the Glen Rose crosswalk. Glen Rose is located on an urban minor arterial with a speed limit of 35. The ADT, which is the average daily traffic, is over 5,000 though, and it's on a curved road. It connects 2 different neighborhoods, and so there's been concerns about the pedestrian visibility in the crosswalk here. There's 3 schools, over 1,400 registered students, a nearby park and ride, a YMCA is proposed here, a park, etc. So it's important to improve pedestrian visibility at this area. So what was proposed to TIB, it will be in the next slide, is an RFB, which is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, and that is pedestrian activated. And what it does is the pedestrian activates the button, and then rapid flashing lights come on. And what that does is that it shows drivers that this is a designated space for pedestrians, kind of gets their attention, they slow down, and it's been proven to be very effective in the right context. And then we'll go to the next slide. This is all of these smaller projects will be constructed this year, and I should have provided for better context that these projects are about 3/4 of a mile away from each other, so they're relatively close to each other. And with that, do you have any questions about the funding or the project itself?
No.
Okay.
This is great. So congrats on the first Complete Streets.
Yeah,
Grant. That's great. Are you thinking about working with the new middle school at the Peppers Act, I'm so more to the east of where this is, but to the east.
Yeah,
Could
there's
there be some opportunities for some of these rapid,
the RFBs.
yes, rapid flashing beacons or other, I know that we've introduced a lot more schools in the area, and I know the school district can also apply for those safe routes to school dollars. So just wondering if there's, I know that there was some initial concerns around middle school students trying to get in that eastern, so east of Regal, I guess. I know this is all, we're talking about west of Regal here.
Yeah, so no, you're spot on. That's exactly what we're doing. So through this project, yes, this is through the TIB project, but we've applied for Crestline sidewalks, which I mean, I think it hit the news, and so there was concern over it. The middle school's new, as you stated, lots of kids in the area. So that is a project that we just applied for. So I mean, fingers crossed. We'll know by the end of probably the end of the year if we get awarded funding for it. So, and we have been in contact with all the schools. We've had meetings with them. They're super excited about it, and we have, you know, lots of good staff working on it and trying to make the best project possible to get funded.
It's the same source of funds.
No, it's a different source of funds. So this funding that we had just applied for, I think I submitted the application 2 weeks ago, is for the pedestrian and bicycle program through WashDOT.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of works in conjunction with the safe routes to school projects. You can only apply for one application, so we had to pick what we thought would be the best strategy to get funded.
Great, well, this looks excellent.
So there's another opportunity for a TLE grant. I've talked to some of the other members on the committee that I sit on with the TIB. Over there by Sunset Elementary, just off of Thomas Ballin there. There's a section that has sidewalk, then it doesn't to the curb and out. And so the kids are forced to be on the sidewalk, then in the street, then back on the sidewalk and stuff. So it's
Thomas Mellon.
yeah, so it's a great opportunity to kind of close that cycle. Because the residential neighborhood is on the other side of the street, so it'd be a great opportunity, and I think I've already greased some treads, maybe. So, and the other thing is that I'm not sure all the board members know that I think Scott Chesney also sits on TIB with me as well as a planner, so there's two of us on there now to help navigate the process.
And this is on my list. I have a running list of transportation related projects, so it is on the list. So when the appropriate funding comes up, or you know, we'll definitely be applying.
Yeah, I was thinking more with the safe routes to school money than I was the others, but you know, at this point, anything that's green, I'll spend.
Yeah, absolutely. And TIB is a really great opportunity because they have the ATP project, the Complete Streets project, so they've opened up a couple of more opportunities for us.
Yep. So.
No, and I'm excited about these projects, just to drive by them a lot. So, you know, the one at Glen Rose, you know, they have the flags that they try to use, but it's really hard for people to see because you're coming around the corners. So I think the flashers will be much safer for people making that cross.
Really excited about it as well.
Also the Cheney School too. Make sure that that's on your list as well.
The Cheney School District?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's noted one's kind of low hanging fruit, as you point out. We just have a few gaps from having a relatively complete sidewalk system because the neighborhoods are newer. It's just the gaps and improvements that were hidden.
And just a quick warning, if we do land the latest grant, we will get phone calls. Last time I tried to put sidewalk on Crestline, it was rather contentious.
Yeah, it's an interesting group out there, isn't it? Yeah, I know, just saying.
Some people want sidewalks and other people are.
You can't believe those meetings. To get to the elementary school up there, that was wild conversations. This is a good thing.
Remember the kids.
Yeah.
They walk in the street, they're fine.
Don't worry, they can run fast.
Well, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And our next rock star for us this morning is our water resources manager. We've got Amy Sumner here to talk a little bit about a water rate we didn't know we had.
Technically, we don't have it all.
Yeah, we actually don't have.
So hello, Amy Sumner, Water Resources Manager. I want to talk to you about this Marshall Creek water right that Ecology has asked us to voluntarily relinquish. So Ecology in their letter said that there, according to their records, have been no beneficial use of this water right being exercised by the property owners within the place of use. And there's also flow concerns on Marshall Creek. As you may know, the lower 2.5 miles of the creek run dry and it's no longer reaching Latah or Hangman Creek. So they're looking to kind of clean up some of their paperwork in terms of water rights that have already been relinquished under the state law, which states that if you haven't exercise beneficial use of your water right, you lose it. So this particular water right has about 10 property owners, all who were received a letter from Ecology asking for the relinquishment. So this is just a formality at this point. We own a very small sliver of a parcel in this place of use. So if we wanted to go after this water right, there's no real value for us. We're not looking for water rights in the Latah Creek system. I think we would spend more staff time trying to prove that this is something that we can use in context of like what we would actually get out of this water right, if anything at all. So, so technically we don't have access to it because we haven't exercised our beneficial use and we don't see it as being beneficial for us. So we're recommending that the board approve a resolution to allow Kyle to execute this voluntarily relinquishment. And there's on the next slide, kind of a map to give you context of the place of use and where our property is within that area. So we just have that little triangular sliver that's basically a right of way.
This looks like it's in your district.
No, it's yours.
Cheese Road.
Oh,
By Marshall.
yes, no, you're right, you're right.
So if there's any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer them.
Go ahead.
So in all my time here, we have viewed water rights as very valuable, something that we would never just voluntarily give up. Why wouldn't we, I mean, I don't know how many gallons per foot or square foot or whatever this is measured at, but why wouldn't we like try to put this in the water bank?
I'm gonna let Amy chime in on here, but I think my understanding, which I'm gonna ask her to correct me of, is that first off, our water bank's Wyra 55, not this one, so we don't have a water bank here, we don't have anything.
I thought we could I thought our water bank, we could put, it all depended on where you could use the certain, but I thought we had even looked at purchasing water rights down south when we were doing all the Hearst stuff. I don't think we did purchase any, but there were water rights we were, I think, in negotiations with property owners down south. That we don't have a mechanism to.
I don't know about
those.
that.
I thought we.
Yeah, I don't know about the historic of looking further south for water rights. But this particular water right is already technically relinquished under law.
Okay.
So we would have to somehow establish that we've been putting this to beneficial use over time, and there's no way that we can establish that.
Okay.
So this is essentially a formality.
Okay, so there is no way we can keep it.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The reason, the letter we received from Ecology was back in February, and we looked into this, and we don't think that we really have a standing for fighting for this water right.
Okay.
We could, but I think we would spend more money in staff time trying to figure out a strategy for this when technically we haven't used it.
Okay.
So with that said, we don't think it's very beneficial and we don't think we have a legal right to it, to like, try to keep it.
And also, I was just gonna add into, the landowners around Marshall Creek that are concerned about those flows. This is at least us taking a step in the right direction to not get in the way of anything that could potentially restore those flows, because, we're letting go of something on paper that we don't really have, but it's a nice nod to the fact that there is some effort going forward to help that.
Yeah, and this particular water right, I don't think we would be able to, if we were to fight for it, I don't think we'd be able to shift it into our YR 55 water bank. It would have to be something on its own, and I don't think that we would get it out of it.
Okay.
So the reference at the top of that map says, City of Spokane, is that the Fish Lake Trail that they own?
I believe so. I think it's within that area.
Right. So remind me, how many acre feet of water is considered a water right, a single right?
Well, it's whatever, each water right will be different because it's whatever they have on paper as documented as the water that they put to beneficial use. This particular water right, it's 0.1 CFS, cubic feet per second, over 10 acres. And when I did the math, it comes to about 72 acre feet per year for that area. So that's for this particular water right, but each water right is going to be different.
Gosh, I just don't want to give away anything.
Well, if it helps, technically, we're not really giving away anything we never had to begin with, so.
Understood.
So use it or lose it kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with water rights.
Yeah.
If you can't show that you've.
Yeah.
used it, you really don't have it. There's no
Okay.
well or anything on that property to show that there's even been anything coming from it.
It was kind of a prudent timing. We just had last month, the first annual water law conference at Gonzaga. And Amy was one of the best speakers at the conference, frankly. 2-day conference of speakers on water law and water rights and everything. But actually quite fascinating content. It was the first time they'd ever thrown something like that, and it'll happen again. And it really was a statewide group of folks coming together. It's much more legal and much more paper than and I think people really understand it. So it was a really cool. There was a lot of community members there, a lot of fewer lawyers than I would think.
Yeah, I think
But
it was mostly-
municipal folks, people from the Conservancy Board, but really an excellent 2 days.
Was there any conversation about adjudication?
There was lots of conversation.
Well, yeah, not for our area.
Not for
Let me rephrase. Was there any conversation about starting an adjudication process here in Spokane County? Because Idaho was already adjudicated.
Yeah, we've known that for years.
I know. We continue to drag our feet.
They are upstream.
Yep.
That was not in the content.
What is the Columbia River? Is that what's being adjudicated right now? State? It was down in Yakima, I thought was finally wrapped up for 47 years, maybe 5 years ago.
I wanna say it's Nooksat, but I'm not 100%.
Any other questions? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's I don't like to give up, but I know we also. Since there's no use that's been shown at all. It's hard to.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You. Okay, next up, we have Leanne. Just a quick refresh of some items that you're going to see coming across the legislative agenda.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. So I just wanted to brief you on the CTR implementation intergovernmental agreements. So as you know, Spokane County and our office has been implementing the community production since 1993. So it's a regional program. And so these contracts are really the funding allocation for each of those jurisdictions, and then they're giving us the money back to implement the law for them. The cities that are affected are Airway Heights, Cheney, Liberty Lake, Medical Lake, Spokane, Spokane Valley, and then of course unincorporated Spokane County. WashDOT for the biennium for 2023 to 2025 gave funding of $651,100, and the allocations for each jurisdiction are based on the work sites. So we have Airway Heights that has 3 work sites for $20,222. Cheney, 3 work sites, same amount, $20,222. Liberty Lake with 7 work sites for $47,184. Medical Lake, 3 work sites, $20,222. City of Spokane, they have 53 work sites for $357,253. Spokane Valley, 18 work sites for $121,331. And then of course the county has 9 work sites for the amount of $60,666. So combination, all of that comes to $651,100. So those agreements are before you. They've all been signed by the other jurisdictions, giving the money back to us to implement the CTR law for them. Any questions?
It'll just be all these interlocal agreements that will show up on them.
Yeah.
So how much, is it every year that we adjust the number of work sites and dollar amounts, or?
Every 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and it goes along with the funding from WashDOT, which is biennium, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, all right, well, thank you,
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Getting you back on schedule, here we go.
Yeah.
We have our wastewater operations manager, Lewis Craft, here to talk about some code changes that we would like to propose for the commissioner's consideration to really help us make some ground on our commercial sewer accounts.
Yeah, so thank you. Is some background of our total system. We have around 47,000 customers total, and 2,000 or so of those are commercial customers, and close over 8,000 ERUs is what they account for. And the commercial billing is based on non-irrigation water usage. So that's basically the winter months, November through March. In a perfect case, we would have water bills, water meter data from the water purveyors to use to check to know what everybody's using in a given year. Go to the next slide. The problem is that of the 2,000 accounts, about 700 of them, we don't have accurate water meter data from the purveyors. There's a couple of them like Vera and Trentwood, they don't give us their data. I believe they only read like once a year, so it may not even be usable even if they gave us their data. But so there's roughly a third of the commercial accounts that we don't have actionable information to really know how much water that these businesses are using. Go to the next slide. And so a lot of times when these accounts were set up, say, could be 20 years ago, a business comes in and they didn't really know how much water they were using. And so when we set up their account, we would bill them for 1 ERU. And then the idea was we would go back, in a year to check what they were actually using. And in a lot of cases that never happened. And so there are businesses out there that, have been paying one ERU or whatever the estimated amount was when they were set up. And they have never been checked or verified to know where they're at today to be able to make an adjustment to their bills. Go to the next slide, please. And so what we would like to do, we have 2,000 accounts. We have, there's maybe 15 to 20 kind of subcategories of businesses that we can use to, like a McDonald's, we can average all the McDonald's that we know of and get a pretty good idea of what a McDonald's should use in a given month. And our code doesn't allow us right now to use just an estimated amount. It does say, non-irrigation water usage. So we just want to make it easier on ourselves, on our staff to, be able to take a business where we don't have any good information in order to, try to get information from them, but it's often hard to get people to volunteer their water usage data. So we need a way to, if there's no other information available, to just, make an estimate based on similar businesses in order to, adjust their billing account. And this goes both to the monthly billing amount, there's the O&M account, but then there's also the connection charges. Again, some of these businesses were charged, a connection charge for one ERU, and they could be using 5 or 10 now. That there's a lot of money that we haven't collected from these businesses potentially. And so there's the last slide, just kind of an example that's a real example of a McDonald's that is using probably using over 12 ERUs. The original count was set up as 4. They're in the Vera district where we don't have any water meter data, and so they really do need to get their account adjusted. Their monthly bill could go from $187 to close to $600, and that's money that we have not been collecting for a lot of years, and we'll never get that back. But we need to kind of help stop the hemorrhaging and get people caught up on what they should be getting charged. And then there's also the connection charge part of it, where that additional 8.75 ERUs is today's rates is roughly $75,000, and they would be given 20 years to if they chose to finance it, they would be able to finance that at 20 years at the 6% interest rate, like any of our other connection charges in our system. So it's real dollars. We're really digging into it to really been working hard to kind of do a QA/QC on all these commercial accounts and find where these holes are, but going forward, I know there's just a lot of missing information in this idea of basing it on water meter readings that these water districts don't have any contractual or statutory reason that they have to give us water meters. Most of them are very cooperative and do give them to us, but even those ones, their data is not always the greatest either. And so that's what we're looking at is to change the code so that Kyle or staff can estimate the usage where it's not available. So,
and to be clear, any commercial customer can provide us information and we can make an actual adjustment to that, but they often don't because they presume they're going to pay more if they provide us the information. So, only in those cases where somebody could actually prove they're using less than our estimate, we'd be happy to make that adjustment if we have any information, but pretty few and far between. But our residential customers are subsidizing these folks, so we're trying to get away from that.
So for clarity for the board, you guys mentioned that the irrigation is not included, which is why you use winter months, which is essentially reflective of the domestic water usage and a presumption that that's what's going into the sewer.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to base this off of. And you also mentioned there's nothing keeping the businesses from sharing information. I don't know if we can or not, but if we can, should the board consider including language in the code that would compel a business to provide that information to us on an annual basis? Whether that could be done or not.
That's what I was thinking about. Even if we had a chart that said, here's the presumptive use for your business, unless you can substantiate it otherwise, and then it becomes the property owner or the user to provide the data, and that would be an incentive to give us information that we can accurately bill on. But at least there's a baseline.
And that's how we've been working it with some of these other, we have been making some adjustments to ones where we know the data, but that they just haven't been caught up for years. And, you know, we made some pretty healthy adjustments to some of the larger commercial users we have now. But yeah, it's notify them to say, hey, here's what we're gonna charge you, let us know if we have better data to go off of that we can consider. So, yeah, we're definitely not wanting to blindside anybody with these adjustments.
And Scott, to your point, I think that we could make a pretty easy switch on our sewer connection agreement to require that disclosure. It's still a very manual process to reach out, and then what hammer do we have if they don't provide it? So, we've had some conversations because it really is two water purveyors, and about even potentially, is it worth it for us to do a reading, or have them? There's conversations happening in the background. It'd be nice if we could do it in a more broad stroke. So we're not there yet, but we certainly taken steps in a few different arrays. And then that whole retroactive thing that's what we unsure about from a legal perspective, if we can retro somebody's disclosure.
Is it accurate that for some of our larger dischargers, we do sometimes have flow meters installed?
Very rare.
Very rare.
Yeah, very rare for the industrial users. A couple of them have actual flow meters. Some of them do like a self-reporting, but it's not very accurate.
Yeah.
And that's why, winter water use is the industry standard, especially in the northern climates, because flow meters are relatively expensive and not that common.
I know that when I was at the city with you, Scott, there was always different ways of like trying to figure out how to fairly charge for sewer, commercial sewer and domestic, residential as well. Is there anything that the city was doing differently that we could adopt here, or that because the city has its own water utility and sewer that it's able to be better aligned?
They are able to be better aligned on
the meter and we don't.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what the city will encourage people to do, businesses, is install a separate breakout meter for the irrigation. So then it's completely on a different meter and they can truly see what their domestic is versus their irrigation.
And
so because we don't have the purveyor, we're not the purveyor, the water purveyor, we're sewer only.
And there's other weird things too, like, say it's a bottling company, they're, making barbecue sauce. It's like, well, how much of that product goes out the door, and it doesn't actually go down the sewer. So that's another kind of a philosophical issue on, we're really only interested in what goes down the sewer pipe, but it's not metered. So then it's, you almost more look at it like, well, it's kind of more like it's based on their usage. Maybe like we're trying to capture what goes down the sewer pipe, but they end up being based on their water usage. It's not really the same as their sewer, but what else do you have to go?
Trying to allow for an estimate.
Yes, yes.
Having that ability to try to estimate what you think, and I'm assuming that with that, you're also working with the company to make sure your estimate is, appropriate.
Yeah, we've been making some pretty good adjustments to like the Travis Pattern and Wagstaff and Honeywell and some of the Good Sam's out in the valley. We've been kind of hitting the largest customers, working down the list, but looking at it, something like 2,000 customers that need to have a kind of an easy button to be able to take care of some of these more problematic ones.
And as you might imagine, it is nonlinear, right? So of those 2,000 accounts, probably 1,300 of them or something, or one ERU, you know, I mean, it's an office building, it doesn't, you know, they're not showering, it's not a high user, that's the majority. And then we kind of have, this is, you know, in my opinion, really most useful for that middle tier, that we know what a fast food restaurant roughly uses. So we can make an adjustment here. There's a few examples in that. And then really it's that really high tier, that industrial tier. And that's where the hand, you know, we've got to be working on an individual basis with them. But, you know, if we can do that with our 20 biggest users, that's a tremendous amount of the flow entering our system, as a percentage of our commercial flows. And then we kind of have, this is, I think, really good strategy for addressing that mid tier. And then we don't need to worry much about the one ERUs.
It's tricky. It's tricky to figure out how to be fair. But I think I appreciate the auditing that you're doing and trying to be as fair as possible.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a sleeping dog that nobody really wanted to wake up over the years. And we're doing it.
Come on, Louis.
We're fixing it. Yeah, it takes a while to get 2,000 up now.
Have you reached out to the city to see, you know, McDonald's in the city and McDonald's in the valley? You would assume that they're gonna be close, so you can use the water rates in the city to estimate what would be in the valley, or?
We could, yeah, their city's real good about sharing their information with us, so we can use their data to help
Does that
kind
give
of
you-
broaden our.
Yeah, give you a
average.
baseline anyway.
Yeah, certainly can.
Okay.
Well, I think as Louis mentioned, the example of the company who's using water to make barbecue sauce or whatever. It's an example of how the team's working with them to understand, okay, what you know your business, we don't know your business, help us understand what maybe some of the offsets to that might be. So we're not just going in there heavy handed, but it's well past due of us to
Well, it's like the
some
tandem
adjustments.
mothership, you know, it's the hot potato, but you know, we're definitely looking, not with blinders on, you know, trying to figure out what goes down the sewer pipes.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so that's gonna take us to miscellaneous. Martha Lou. See you there.
Okay, for media press releases and proclamations. Ariane Schmidt and her team put on a very nice event for Broadlink on Friday. We had the Spokesman Review and also Channel 4 out there. So we received some good coverage. I hope you saw the front page photo and article yesterday. Very impressive photo of the tower. So that went well. Now, the swim season for Parks, Recreation and Golf begins next Monday. So a news release will be going out later this week announcing that. Also, the Juneteenth holiday closures will be distributed later this week. I have a draft going around.
So Wednesday will be the Wednesday of next week is.
Yes, is Juneteenth. Okay, yeah. So we're closed, but the regional solid waste system is open. And we also will have pools, golf courses, parks, trails, all of that open. So that will be promoted in the release as well. Okay, now proclamations. National Adopt a Cat has been pushed back to next Tuesday. I take responsibility for that. I didn't realize that some folks at Scraps were on vacation, so I wasn't able to get information from them. Gina took some well-deserved time off and it just didn't come together in time for today. And for that, I apologize, commissioners. So it will be on the 18th. There are other opportunities coming up this summer, not many, however, things slow down in the summertime. So in July, if you want to do anything for Independence Day, or August, there's Purple Heart Day on Wednesday, August 7th. And so Tuesday, August 6th would be a good day for a proclamation for that.
I think we've done Purple Heart in the
We
past
have.
and we've lit the tower. Should check it. I mean, when Jim Brown was here, I think. It was that or we flew the Purple Heart flag.
I don't think we lit the tower. I think the only thing,
That covers for,
I don't remember a purple tower. I don't remember sliding.
not the whole tower, just the upper part. Well, I don't know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'll check with Gil on that.
yeah, check with Gil. Cause yeah, when Jim Brown was here with me, it was. I can't remember, for some reason, I think it was either the lights or the flag that we
Okay.
flew.
So that would be in August. September is National Recovery Month. And it's also National Cat Month. So just to let you know, some things coming up. I looked through what we had done over the past 5 years, and they were very specific, like honoring someone for their 100th birthday or the Hutton Settlement's 100th anniversary, things like that. So these are just the general ones. Of course, looking out that far into summer, haven't received anything from your assistants or from the public requesting. Any questions?
I was just gonna say, I know you mentioned Recovery Month. There used to be an organization that would reach out to us. And we did several years in a row. Is that Hands Across the Bridge?
Yep.
They they were a recovery based organization or group.
Yep.
But they haven't reached out in several years. Do they still do it? Well, no, I know because of COVID, but I mean, I don't even know if they do that event anymore. But I know there were several years we would read the proclamation about that event. I think we do it the Tuesday
Yep.
before their event, which I think was on like a Saturday, but
Yeah.
they haven't reached out in a number of years,
That's the
so.
group that was down there in Peaceful Valley.
Yes,
it was-
I think they were.
Yeah.
Cafe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
run through,
covered the
Cafe,
cafe
that's
as
it,
well.
thank
That's
you.
right.
run through community minded enterprises.
Yeah. But yeah, we haven't heard from them in a while. So.
Okay.
So National Adopt a Cat Month is going to be next week.
Yes.
Okay, I misunderstood. I had heard it was gonna be
somebody told me,
September. I think that
yes.
was me, because I had heard September, but it's a different, it's National Cat Month.
Yes.
Okay, so
It
the
doesn't
Adopt
line
a
up.
Cat, the Adopt a Cat is still staying on.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and in case you want more cats, October 29th is National Cat Day.
I think we'll stick with the adopt a cat because that helps our scraps and bring awareness to
Yes.
scraps and getting cats adopted out. And like, I'm not,
And
I
Jesse's,
don't wanna get going on to just like
exactly.
generic stuff in the
and
future.
Jesse's been out for a couple of weeks. He'll be back on the 17th. So he'll be here for the 18th.
The great thing is both Commissioner French and Commissioner Kearns have agreed to come in with cats wrapped around them.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, not even in your wildest dreams.
Oh, but that's
Yeah.
You bring a cat, I will
blanket.
hold it while I read the proclamation, but you gotta bring one. Someone's gotta, we need a courthouse cat. We gotta bring.
No, we don't.
Do you also take responsibility for the litter box, Commissioner?
Get the cat in and out.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I mean, Scraps should bring a couple little cats.
Oh.
You know, little kittens. Yeah.
They run around with the dish.
Just, they can hold the cat.
This would be the time that I'll tell you that I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah,
so am I.
can't be within 100 miles of one.
Oh,
Yeah.
100
I used to
Okay.
use that too.
Anything else? Did you have an executive
I
session?
have just two very quick ones, probably 10 minutes total. If you want to do now or this afternoon, either.
I mean, you want to do it this afternoon?
Oh,
Say, like,
sure,
let's
God,
do it.
go ahead and do it now.
Either way.
Let's
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
just do it now.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way. Because Commissioner French does have to get going, so. I need you to.
Oh,
state.
yeah, so these, sorry, we have two matters under pending potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1I. These matters will involve the board, myself, CEO Scott Simmons. Each of them should take 5 minutes, so 10 minutes total, and no action needed from the board.
Okay, so it is 10:31. And we will go into executive session for 10 minutes, obviously litigation with the people that Chris Anderson just stated. No action anticipated. So at the end of the 10 minutes, we will adjourn for the morning and see everybody back for our 2 o'clock consent agenda. Thank you.